Well, let's talk about that. To me, another thing here that the left has often used that talking point when anybody criticizes George Soros is that they're anti-Semitic. But then, strange thing here, I know that there's a lot of logical inconsistencies on the left, the Queers for Palestine being the first one that comes to mind. But before we were talking about the Trump trial, it seemed like the news was just completely fixated on these college campuses, and I call them the little terrorists on the college campuses, disrupting commencement, Columbia, of course, the insurrection that they staged there. And, there's been a lot of discussion about who funded the tents, the coordinated effort to get all this together.
And we saw too from the arrest records, the majority of these people aren't students. I mean, the students are pretty crazy themselves, but it really is paid people, and they are Soros-funded groups. They paid for the tents, for instance, because there are obvious questions when you see it, like how come they all have the same tent or similar tents? How are students affording this? Why do all the signs almost look like they have the same graphic designer? And that is because they all have the same source there. And then actually to sort of go, well, I think it's on topic. There's the question of why does Soros support this, given that he's ethnically Jewish? And it's more radical than that. There was an op-ed Soros wrote in 2007, and this was about three months before Hamas fully seized control of Gaza, where he was arguing that since they were a democratically elected government, the U.S. and Israel have an obligation to work with Hamas.
Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them. It just doesn't make sense.
Only people who always lose are the day in, day out Palestinian people.
Yeah.
Because it's to no one's benefit to help them but them.